Since the January 3rd arrest of Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, in Caracas, the question on everyone's mind is, what happens next in Venezuela? Maduro played a key role in shaping the system of corruption, patronage, and criminality that linked various criminal groups with the state. This system transformed Venezuela into a hybrid state, where state actors and armed groups worked in tandem to maintain social control and capture criminal rents. Among these groups are the Colectivos, paramilitary-style organizations that have been employed since the era of President Hugo Chávez to defend and enforce the government's interests, often through threats and violence. This narrated story examines the response of the Colectivos to Maduro's arrest and explores the potential role they may play in the shifting power dynamics within Venezuela. This is the Colectivos' role in the struggle for power in post-Maduro Venezuela, written by the Venezuela Investigative Unit and read by me, Daniel Reyes. Tension has flooded Caracas since the early hours of January 3rd, when then-President Nicolás Maduro and his wife were arrested and taken to prison in the United States. In response, armed men with their faces covered by balaclavas poured into the capital streets. Videos shared in WhatsApp chats and on social media show dozens of men patrolling the city on motorcycles, long guns slung across their backs. Other footage places them guarding the surroundings of key Chavista sites and setting up checkpoints on major avenues to inspect passing vehicles. Residents have even spotted them stationed at the entrances of shops and supermarkets. They were everywhere. I was leaving my business in La Pastora in central Caracas and saw them guarding supermarkets and stores and obviously intimidating people, because that's what it is, intimidation, with machine guns in their hands. A Caracas shopkeeper, who asked to remain anonymous for security reasons, told Inside Crime. These men are members of Colectivos, as pro-government armed groups are known in Venezuela. Since the January 3rd U.S. attack in Caracas, the Colectivos have deployed across the capital and other cities to support and protect the Chavista regime, part of a broader crackdown on opponents. Formed during the government of Hugo Chávez, these armed groups call themselves defenders of the Bolivarian Revolution. During the wave of protest against Maduro throughout the 2010s, they were the regime's chief enforcers, using excessive violence against the opposition. They have also seized political and social control of key neighborhoods, preventing residents from protesting the government and pressuring them to vote for pro-government candidates in elections. In this way, the Colectivos act as an unofficial armed force for the government. Some Colectivos even rehearsed drills near the end of 2025 in preparation for a foreign invasion. Yet the Colectivos also operate as criminal groups, exploiting their connections to power to commit crimes with impunity. With Maduro behind bars and a new Chavista government in Venezuela, the Colectivos are now the criminal group closest to the country's center of power. They are heavily armed and well-trained, and maintain close ties to radical elements of the ruling camp. This makes them a powerful force, whose actions could shape the country's uncertain future. How have the Colectivos evolved? The Colectivos began as highly ideological groups under Chávez, financed and armed by the state. Over time, they took on an increasingly paramilitary character, incorporating active and retired security personnel. But as the economic crisis deepened under Maduro, state funding dried up. This forced them to seek new revenue streams to survive. Their connections to the police, military, and politicians at multiple levels gave them access to subsidized food schemes, where they would take the low-cost food and sell it illegally at higher prices in neighborhoods they controlled. They began to carry out kidnappings, extort shopkeepers, and seize properties, which they later sold illegally. Many members of the Colectivos also ventured into illegal businesses. Today, few groups retain the ideological roots of the community movements from which they emerged. Instead, they are primarily focused on making money by controlling territory, managing businesses, and cutting deals with politicians. Over the years, the Colectivos have built a powerful system of governance in areas under their control. They enforce rules and punishments within the communities they oversee, as well as managing the distribution of subsidized food and public services. They also maintain strong political connections. Local public officials affiliated with the ruling United Socialist Party of Venezuela, or PSUV for its acronym, from city councilors to mayors and governors, have acted as intermediaries between the Colectivos and the central government, negotiating mutually beneficial deals. Often, the groups influence local elections by ordering residents to vote for specific candidates in exchange for political favors. For example, Caracas mayor, Carmen Meléndez, has allegedly worked closely with the Tres Raíces Colectivo in the 23 de Enero neighborhood, which campaigned for her in exchange for concessions and contracts. These ties extend to the very top of echelons of power. Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello has held multiple meetings with Colectivos over the past year, and they seem to have increasingly taken up their former mantle as defenders of the government. Key actors in the struggle for power. They betrayed our President Nicolás Maduro, but history will make them pay, said Valentín Santana, leader of La Piedrita, one of the oldest colectivos in Caracas' 23 de Enero neighborhood, in a video released hours after the then president was arrested. Following Maduro's arrest, the Venezuelan government has seen a realignment of power, with the Colectivos as a key actor. If internal struggles break out between elements of the PSUV, particularly between Cabello and new president Delcy Rodríguez and her brother Jorge Rodríguez, president of the National Assembly, the Colectivos' support for Cabello could tip the scales. Several of the strongest Colectivos in the country occupy the 23 de Enero neighborhood, just blocks from the presidential palace. Many have joined forces under the Sergio Rodríguez Colectivo front, including La Piedrita and Tres Raíces. Groups such as the Peace Squads, or Cuadrillas de Paz, CUPAS, a group of colectivos created by Maduro, also control key areas around Caracas and Venezuela's main cities, and could likewise play a role in the ongoing power reshuffle. In their first day of power, the Rodríguez siblings have complied with requests from the Trump administration, suggesting that they could be pressured by Washington to dismantle the regime's most radical, violent, and armed components, like the Colectivos. Cabello, who is a hardline Chavista and outspoken advocate of armed struggle and wanted by the United States on drug trafficking charges, could also find himself in the U.S. authorities' crosshairs alongside them. While the Colectivos have adopted a transactional stance towards the government in recent years, their usefulness and lifeline is guaranteed by Chavismo's most radical wing. This could push them to take up against anyone who threatens them. We're telling the Americans, you can come, but you'll live in black bags, threatened Santana. You have no idea what you unleashed. This was the Colectivos' role in the struggle for power in post-Maduro Venezuela, published January 9th, 2026. To learn more about organized crime in Venezuela, visit our website at insidecrime.org. There, you'll find daily coverage of this ongoing crisis, profiles of the main actors, and years of in-depth investigations into the hybrid state in Venezuela. We will be back with another story next week. Thanks for listening.